School districts exist to educate students. They exist to educate kids in math and science and reading and history, to teach about America's history and American exceptionalism. And so we have been, I think, very successful in sort of bringing the district back to our core principles. Parents as partners in education. That's number one principle in the Texas Education Code.
I am so excited to welcome back to the show Texas Mom School Board member Hannah Smith. Hannah, thank you so much for being back here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
So we had you on the show in June, and you talked a little bit about your run for school board in Carroll Independent School District, which is just right outside of Dallas, Texas. And you talked a little bit about why you chose to run for school board. For those who aren't familiar with your story, would you explain a little bit about what happened in your school district, how you found out that critical race theory was being taught, and how that drove you to say, you know what, I need to run for school board and do something about this?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back, and I'm really excited to tell this story because I think it's a story that can inspire people all over the country, right? This is happening, unfortunately, in a lot of places. Back in 2020, our school district had a school board meeting in August, and the school board had an agenda item that was the Cultural Competence Action Plan. And it was a 34-page document that essentially wanted to radically transform our entire district. Microaggression tracking, equity audits of our curriculum, teacher performance metrics to measure wokeness, just a variety of very progressive, very radical things that they wanted to do to our school district. And the community woke up and said, we're not going to take this. And they showed up in record numbers to school board meetings. They submitted public comments online. They submitted open records requests to the tune of about 400, 500 open records requests to find out what was going on in our school district. And the result of that was we had a chance to run two school board candidates for the May 2021 election. So I ran along with my now fellow trustee Cam Bryan, and we won 70% of the vote with a 45% voter turnout for a municipal election, which is unheard of in our town. Usually you have single-digit voter turnout, but we had 45% voters turnout, and we won by 70% of the vote, which was just a huge statement from our community saying we reject this radical agenda for our schools. We want the schools to reflect our community's values, and that's ultimately why we ran. We wanted to right the ship, get things back on track, and help our school district move forward in a way that's consistent with our community's values.
So how is that going? How is the process of righting the ship progressing? Because it's now been 7-8 months since you all were first elected onto the school board. What's the latest? Are they still pushing critical race theory? Have you been successful in stopping that?
So we were successful in stopping that 34-page plan, the Cultural Competence Action Plan. That is now no longer a plan that is being forwarded in our district. We have been very successful in bringing the school district back to its core principles. You know, school districts exist to educate students. They exist to educate kids in math and science and reading and history, to teach about America's history and American exceptionalism. And so we have been, I think, very successful in sort of bringing the district back to our core principles. Parents as partners in education. That's number one principle in the Texas Education Code. Listening to parents, really hearing what they're saying about what they want for their kids and their kids' education. It's been a really interesting 9 months, extremely busy. We passed for the first time a balanced budget, which we have not had a balanced budget in our district in years. Fiscal responsibility is huge. You know, we've held our superintendent accountable for a lot of things, and we've tried to just be a lot more transparent with the community and just be very responsive to what they want and what they want to see in their kids' education. So it's been a really fun ride for 9 months, and we have another 2 years, so it's going to be another, great chapter in our school district's history to see how the ship is going to be righted and going forward for our kids.
How have you been received by the other school board members who are not conservative and who don't share your views?
So we have 7 members of our school board, and Cam Bryan and I were the 2 conservatives that ran and won in May of 2021. Interestingly enough, we had a school board trustee who decided to retire early, so he left an open seat for 6 months of the rest of his term. Traditionally in our school district, the board has always voted to appoint someone to fill a vacant spot, but we said no, the community wants to vote on who they have as their new trustee. And so instead of having an appointment, we voted for a special election, and in that special election, another conservative candidate ran. So Andrew Yeager joined us in November of last year. So now we have 3 strong conservatives on the board out of 7. We have another Republican trustee who is now president of the board. After Andrew's election, we were able to reorganize the board and get a Republican in there as board president. So we have a pretty good, I think we're in a good place right now with our board, but this next May we have another election for 2 more seats. Andrew's running again, and we've got another guy coming to run. So, it's interesting because there are certainly trustees who do not share our views and do not share our vision for the district. They have a very different vision for what they want for our kids and for our school district, and that's okay. That's what they believe, but that's not what our community wants. And so we feel very strongly that we have to represent what the community wants, and the community spoke loud and clear with a 70% victory.
So then how do you navigate that? How do you navigate the school board meetings where you are still in the minority as a conservative on your school board, and you have individuals kind of pushing and saying, no, we should do this, and then yourself and the other conservatives on the school board are saying, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. What do you do in those conversations? How are you advocating?
Yeah, that's a great question. There have been a lot of votes where we've had a 4-vote majority, where we have been able to do some really important things that are what our community wants. There was one vote in particular that did not go our way that we were disappointed in, and that was the new Tim Tebow law in Texas, which allows homeschool kids to participate in extracurricular activities on campus. And it allows districts to opt in if they want to allow homeschool kids to come and participate. And we, of course, advocated for that because we believe in school choice, and we believe in providing more opportunities for kiddos in different situations to take advantage of what the school district offers. These are families that pay property taxes into our district, and even though they homeschool their kids, they'd love to have them involved in extracurriculars. We did not win that vote, which was very unfortunate, but we hope that once the next election comes around in May, we'll be able to have a majority to be able to get that through. Yeah. So, we've won some, we've lost some, but hopefully after May, we'll have a majority on the board that will really represent the conservative agenda of the community.
What would you say to other parents who hear your story and who are inspired, but think, oh, I don't know how to be involved, or gosh, my district is so far left that the thought of trying to get involved as a conservative is so overwhelming to them? What's your advice?
I would just say band together with like-minded parents. Form a group that is cohesive and that can lead your community into the future that they want. You may be a small minority, but you can be mighty and fierce as a small minority. And there are a lot of things that you can accomplish if you just stay focused and you put your kids first and utilize the resources that you have. Open records requests are a really powerful thing. Using local media, using local podcasters, using local communications channels to get the word out. Starting your own, political action committee, if that's something that you think would be effective for your community. I would just say don't lose heart. Even if you're in the minority in your particular district, you can still effectuate change.
And from a practical perspective, how much time does it take to be a school board member? What does your week look like when you have a family and a career? How are you also juggling being a school board member?
Yeah, that's a great question. My kids come first. So my 4 kids, who are ranging in age from 7 to 16, very busy, very active, really awesome kids. And so I'm a mom first, and then everything else just sort of falls in after that. But I do spend a lot of time, researching the issues that we're going to be voting on in our upcoming school board meetings, very proactive in bringing issues to our superintendent and his leadership council that we see that are percolating up through the community that are of concern. So really my point of contact is the superintendent, to bring to him our concerns, and then he works with his staff to make sure that they're being addressed in a timely way. So a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings. Right now we're in the process of implementing a 5-year strategic plan for our district, which is setting the roadmap for the future of our district for the next 5 years. That's been a tremendously just really wonderful process that we've been through with 60 members of the community, talking about, what do we want for our kids? What do we want their education to look like? What do we want for the future of this district? So, there's been a lot of really neat projects that I've had a chance to work on as trustee, and I'm really excited for another 2 years of more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hannah, thank you so much for your time, and all the best to you on your school board as you continue.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.